What's up, guys? If you're like me, then you want to know what the cost of things are to build, in particular this 8x12 composite deck. I'm actually going to tell you that price right now because I think that's more important than talking all about it and then getting to the price eventually. For those of you who are just here for the price, please hit that like button once you hear the price before you sign off this video. All right, so this deck cost us $4,000 in material, $4,042.01 to be exact. I'll do a further breakdown on all the material, but that's the price you're looking at if you're looking to build this size deck, for composite, whether it's for yourself, for a family member, or maybe you're looking to build it for somebody else and you want to know what's the material cost before you quote it. That's a general ballpark. All right. As a contractor, we charge the customer $8,100 to build this, give or take. I'll do a full breakdown on the total price in a hot moment here, but that's kind of what you're looking at for this. And before you comment being like, whoa, that's absurd, check out the video because I will talk about the hourly rate as well. But there's a lot of tools and machines that go into this as well. And, having a truck, getting deliveries, there's a lot more that's involved than you may think. Now, if you think that price is really cheap, then please hire us and we'll build your deck. I'm going to get right into the pricing for everything now. If you enjoyed hearing that price right off the bat, please hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like this because I don't mind sharing anything and everything about all the construction projects we do on this channel. All right, let's get into it. Okay, starting off with our material, the price ended up being around $4,000. The exact price it differs or varies a little bit because there are certain things such as, this large pack of landscape staples where I only used a few of them and therefore we're going to use these on another job. And it's kind of a gray area as to what you would actually expense this as. For example, if you really were only doing one deck and then you were kind of getting rid of everything else, then this number here should become a 1, which increases your price. However, we're going to be doing a lot of other decks, and I really only used about 30 to 35% of that entire package of landscape staples. Therefore, I have plenty left to do at least another 2 decks, or another 2 decks of this size. All right, going into this though, I pretty much have things broken down into sections, followed by the price of material for that, and then we'll discuss the labor and the hours. Starting off here with our footers and our layout, the first thing we had was our quickset concrete. Now in future decks, we're probably just going to use standard concrete. We wanted to use the quickset because of the time frame of this job and doing it evenings after our full-time jobs. We then used gravel bags. This is another area where in order to save money in the future, I could just order scoops of gravel where we, purchased gravel here. 2 scoops was, they were around $22 a piece. In this case, I could have actually purchased a third scoop, brought it to the job site, and then that would have taken care of this price here. It would have been more on my truck and probably more gravel than we needed, but it definitely would save money because we bought gravel bags for both our concrete pad and our footers. All right, but footers here, so we have our quickset concrete, our gravel bags, mason line, again, something that's reusable on other jobs, but I put the full price here. And we have our saddles, which are the 6x6 pieces that go into the concrete and hold the 6x6 post. Up next, we have the sonotubes. Now, the sonotubes, I do have some spare cuts left from these, but we did pretty much use 3 full ones because they're about 4 feet long and our footers were, I want to say, 38 inches deep. So about 40 inches out of the 48 per each sonotube was used. Those other ones are pretty much trash. All right, so that brings the footers to $112.30. Now, landscaping ended up being cheaper than I would have thought in the beginning. We purchased gravel, so the 2 scoops, which is what covered all, underneath the deck there. It was all gravel instead of dirt or mud or grass or anything else. The landscape staples, the weed barrier, and the topsoil. Now, the weed barrier is we used a product that I found on Amazon. For a lot of products here, I'll leave links in the description as to what we bought on Amazon, but then a lot of things can be found at your hardware stores, Home Depot, Menards, Lowe's, any of those stores that you go to. Definitely things like your pressure treated lumber, your hurricane ties, and so forth. The topsoil is again something we didn't necessarily need, but we just wanted to do this for our customer, to clean up the deck area, and that way it allows for grass to grow. I did have grass seed I used. I didn't put that here in the price. I had some left over that I just sprinkled on top of the topsoil out along the perimeter of the gravel that we had under the deck. That way you have grass and then gravel. For our concrete pad, this is again something you might not use on a deck, but for this case, we needed to pour a concrete pad for our stair landing. And this, we had gravel bags, concrete bags, about 11 of them, wire mesh. This wire might not have been necessary, but I feel more comfortable having that within the concrete, and then the wood frame. Now, the wood frame, I essentially used scraps, but I just put $10 here. You can buy, scrap lumber, you can use parts from other jobs, but the lumber is definitely something, that wood frame. I just put that as $10 for now. All right. For our structure, the true cost of the structure ended up being $763.04. First off, here we have our 6x6 post. Then we have our lumber. Now we have 2x8 lumber that was 12-foot spans and 8-foot spans for our deck. And then we had 2x6 lumber that was used for blocking. This end cut treatment solution is not something you necessarily need, but I found we like to use it. Again, it's one of those additional things that we think will help the longevity of this deck. The L angles here are used in the corners of the deck. Hurricane ties where the edge stringers tie into the beam underneath. These Simpson Strong Hurricane ties, these are what we used along the beam for our joists to fasten into. Now the deck fasteners, these are both 2.5-inch ones and I believe 1.5 or 1.25-inch fasteners. Now these are all for your brackets and all of these ties up here. They use these specialty fasteners. These longer ones here were helpful down at the bottom of the deck where we are using them for the 6x6 posts. The next thing here are the deck screws. The deck screws are very helpful for, blocking areas where you have wood between your stringers and so forth. This is a bucket I purchased and I just expensed 20% of that bucket. I know I'm going to be using that throughout the other decks. If you buy these by the box, it's about $35 per box of those screws. Brackets from post to beam. These are brackets from our 6x6 post attaching to our triple beam. Deck tape. I've talked about this in my other video. Deck tape, we find it's worth it to add, and that was about $40 of material. Now we have two types of flashing I purchased here. In the future, we need to make sure we purchased copper flashing. In this case, it was aluminum flashing. It'll work for now, but it should be copper flashing when using it alongside of pressure treated lumber, along with the step flashing. Then we purchased lag screws. The lag screws are both for our ledger board into the home and the screws that attach into our railing posts. Stair bracket ties. We just needed 3 of these for 3 of our stair stringers. We had 2 pieces of lumber here that were for our stair stringers as well. I actually ended up wasting material down below here on pressure treated stringers. I purchased 3 pre-cut ones and they ended up just not working, and the stairs were kind of out of whack, and our top stair was 5 inches, or the top step was about 5 inches, and we really needed them to be equal, so 6 inches each, and that's why we purchased the additional pressure treated lumber here. And that was only $51 for our 3 stair stringers we were able to make out of this. Plus, I have some extra lumber left, and I think that was definitely the proper solution. Angle brackets, these are just small clips that connect our stringers to our concrete, and then Tapcons when screwing down into concrete. Again, I purchased a case of Tapcons here, in which case I only used a couple of them, so I spent 20% of that onto this job. As far as our decking goes, we had our grooved boards and our square edge boards. We used fiberon decking. You could use different types of composite, whether that's Trex, Azek, fiberon like we did here, and it gets probably as cheap as, let's say, $30 a board. In this case, this was our price per board, and this is how many we used of our grooved and how many square edge. The square edge was used for the stairs on this deck. Now we had our deck fasteners, which is our hidden fasteners for the composite groove boards. Then we had our screws and plugs. We had our PVC fascia, which is both used for the stairs and then the exterior of the deck and the stair kickers as well. And then fascia hardware, which is a specialty, composite like screw that's white. Now moving on to our railing, which is pretty much the last part of material for the deck. We had several sections of railing, including 6-foot sections, an 8-foot section. We had 2 stair sections. A lot of these brackets are the brackets that connect the railing to the post. We had our post sleeves. This should really say just post sleeve, not post sleeve kit, because it's just a post sleeve. And then our post base. And then we purchased one sleeve that was 100 inches. Now this one is the one that covered up the posts at the bottom of the stairs because they end up being a little taller than every other post. If you're redoing an old deck and you're demoing something, you're going to need a dumpster, or you're going to need to drop things off at a recycling center, which is what we did. So we filled up the truck, and this was much cheaper than purchasing a dumpster. A dumpster would run, let's say $450. Delivery for delivering decking, concrete, and other materials was $135, and gas for driving both to the job site and picking up on their material was about $164, for about 2 tanks of gas with the truck, or 2 full tanks, so to say. Now, where we wasted money was the pressure treated stringers. I purchased 2 extra post sleeves that we opened and I couldn't return, and then the sales tax on that. Now, these are extra tools that I purchased while doing this job, and now they're part of my, all of the tools I have, and I'll use them on other jobs. So I don't necessarily need to expense them on this. It would just be an expense for the company. Okay, so this brings our grand total all the way up to $3,837.39. Now, this does include our other section right down here. However, it does not include our waste material, our tools, or our labor. So, really, at the end of the day, if you really wanted to know the true total for the material, it would be about $3,900, give or take. You would end up spending a little more than that because when you're purchasing these other things, you'd be spending a full $14.39 here, not just $5. Likewise here, this you again could have bought a box for $35, but down here the Tapcons, that would be something where you'd have to pay the $23 just for a box of them, even if you're only going to use a couple. Or you could find out other solutions that'll work for you. But pretty much that's again our total price at the end of the day. And after adding the wasted material that I couldn't return, maybe I can use it somewhere else, hopefully, and including the tools that I purchased for this deck. If I really wanted to look at the entire total that it cost me to do this deck, it would be $4,032.89. That doesn't account for any other tools I already have, and there was a plethora of tools that were used for this project. Now, finally, let's discuss the labor. So the labor total was $3,950. That might sound a little crazy. However, when you look at the hourly rate, this is kind of what our labor ended up being. So we had several days of work here. We have the hours that we worked, and then we have, additional things such as transportation and cleanup, other hours where I'm either cleaning the truck, moving material, returning things. That's really time that is kind of billed onto this project. At the end of the day, though, that's around $31 an hour for what we did, and it was just myself and a buddy that built this deck. So 2 people, each getting 31 an hour, which I think is pretty good for this type of work. In the future, maybe we'll look to get more. And also, as the company grows, the prices will need to increase because, therefore, you're going to have other expenses such as office expenses, vehicle, medical, all sorts of things. I do currently have business insurance and things like that. Some of this money, even though I might not make this much hourly because some of that money ends up going into the business. Overall, that's the general idea of why that price is what it is for labor. Thank you guys for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to see more content like this. And feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions about decking, questions about the pricing. I will answer anything that I'm aware of, or I'll answer it when I do have an answer for you. All right. Thank you. Have a good one.